We're going to start with our collard greens. You see me place a bit of smoked turkey meat in there. If you have pork or prefer pork, you can definitely do that. I do both. I just had turkey today. Now this is a half a medium onion. You can put as much onion as you like, or you don't have to use the onion. It doesn't matter if it's white or yellow. It can even be purple. I've never used purple. I'm using a little bit of sugar, about half teaspoon. That's to help with the bitterness. And this is a little bit of black pepper because I'm using a medium spiced pepper, which is going to give it some kick and a little bit of heat. That one is optional. I don't always use the pepper. Now, when I wash my collard greens, I will wash front and back. I'm examining each leaf. This is easy to do because I only have 2 bunches. I'm making a very small amount. What I like to do is rinse the grit off the leaves to make sure that there's not too much when I submerge it in the cold water. I'm also removing that big heavy vein in the middle. I am not a big fan of that because it doesn't cook evenly with the leaves, but I know it does have a lot of nutrition, and if you like it, chop it up, use it. Now I'm going to submerge it, and we're going to just whoosh it around and get them all wet. And I wash mine with cider vinegar, apple cider vinegar. And that is about 2 tablespoons. You don't have to use apple cider vinegar. Wash it the way you wash your greens. This is how I do mine. And then after I get it washed and I soak it for a little bit, maybe a few minutes, then I'll rinse it. I'll put it in the other water. Now you see I don't have very much water. I might add a little bit more, but I chopped the collards a little so that it fits nicely. And my 2 bunches actually fit very well into this pot. Anybody who's ever made collards, you know it's going to shrink up. So we're going to add a little bit of Frank's Red Hot Sauce. This is optional. It really isn't, because I've never made greens without Frank's Red Hot Sauce. If I didn't have Frank's Red Hot Sauce, I wouldn't even make greens. It adds a little bit of spice. It adds a little bit of vinegar. So if you don't want the spice, even though it's not going to add much heat, you might want to just add maybe a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. It just adds a lot of taste and flavor to your collard greens. So we're going to cover it, and we'll start the process of making the roast chicken. This is the most expensive roast chicken I've ever bought. This is a free range chicken. I wash my chicken. I pat it dry. I feel that it's very important to at least rinse your chicken off. I'm going to get it extra dry. That chicken has a big neck. That is the longest neck that I have ever seen on a chicken that I've ever purchased. But what we're going to do is we're butterflying this chicken, which means cutting it down the back. And I'm going to cut that big long neck off, but I'm saving it because I need it for stock. Now we're going to pat it dry, front and back. Make sure that it is as dry as you possibly can get it. We're going to roast our chicken in an iron skillet, but we're going to add some aromatics to it. Now these veggies are not going to be eaten unless you just want to eat them. We'll add 2 carrots, and we're going to also add some of that medium spiced pepper, but it won't add heat to the turkey or to the chicken. And I do add half an onion, but I forgot to show it, but I did put it in there. Now this is a half lemon, and we're going to season the underside of the chicken with seasoned salt. You can use whatever sodium you like. I love Kroger brand seasoned salt. Then we have a little pepper, black pepper, and a little poultry season. And the poultry season adds thyme and rosemary and all kinds of really good flavoring. Okay, now once we get our chicken situated, we'll brush the skin with butter. Now, the first time I saw a friend of mine make this chicken and they put butter on the outside, I thought, well, there's so much grease in chicken. Why are you putting butter on it? But it's to make that skin crispy. We'll add a little more and be liberal with the seasoning on this because you want that salt and pepper and all of that to seep into the chicken. Now this is crushed garlic, and I used a lot of crushed garlic. The recipe really calls for dry garlic powder, not garlic salt, which I don't like cooking with garlic powder, so I don't really keep it, but it's necessary for this to have that much garlic. All right, now we're gonna do a quick mashed potatoes. Now a lot of people will do instant mashed potatoes. I'm gonna show you how quick this is. So we cut up some Yukon Gold. That's the only mashed potatoes I make. I do not peel them. I will put them in some water with salt. Ooh, check out our greens. Our greens have been cooking for about an hour and a half at this point. They have wilted nicely. They're not done yet for my liking. You can cook your greens as long as you like them if you want them crunchier. You can see our turkey meat is starting to shred up. Look at that. That looks delicious. Now we still have a lot of juice at the bottom of the greens. So, but if you feel like you need to add more, definitely add more water. At this point, we did not add any salt to the greens because your smoked meat might have some salt to it. So I do wait. Okay, now our turkey has magically got some green sage sprinkled on top because I had some sage leaves. So it's always nice to add something like that. All right, time to add our potatoes to our salted water. For the amount of potatoes I have, maybe 6 medium-sized potatoes. I lost one in the thing, but I got it. I probably added about a tablespoon of kosher salt, and it probably cooked for 20 minutes. And now it is tender. And if you put a fork in it, it would be tender. It's definitely tender with that knife poked into it. Now we're going to drain her. Check out our greens. They've been cooking for about 2 hours now. The smoked turkey is definitely done and it is shredded. Season it with more of my favorite seasoned salt, and of course season it with whatever sodium you like. Give it a good stir, and of course we have to taste. It's hot, and it was good. All right, now we're back to our potatoes. So the potatoes, it didn't take long to cook. I mean, I said about 20 minutes. We're gonna mash them up and season them. I am a purist. I just like salt and a little white pepper, or you can put black pepper if that's your preference. You can always feel free to add sour cream or anything like that. I've added just regular milk, and I heated the milk. You can never add cold milk to a hot potato, or it will turn into a paste. Now, of course, we have to add a little dollop of butter, or 2 dollops of butter, and give it a good whisk. If you feel like this is too stiff, you know what to do. Add more milk. And here it is, folks, our beautiful, crispy roast chicken. You have to hear the crispiness. It is basically done at this point. Ooh, look at that skin. That skin is crispy. So our chicken is roasted at 425 degrees for an hour and 15 minutes. Technically, it's not done yet. Now, if you wanted to eat it right now, perfectly fine, but we have one more step. So we're going to remove the veggies and we're going to drain that delicious broth filled with all of our aromatics, our garlic. Now we're going to return the chicken to the skillet because we have one last step, and that is to add 1 glass of Merlot, which is about a cup. It's usually just white wine. However, we didn't have white wine, we had Merlot. So it can be whatever wine you want. It can be sweet, it can be dry. And then we're going to add the rest of the broth on there. And I'm sorry, but that piece of chicken skin is just calling my name. So I just had to grab it, and it was delicious. So this has cooked for an additional 10 minutes at 450 degrees, and as you saw, it was still crispy and it smells so good. Now we're going to make a quick gravy. This was a last minute decision. That's 1 tablespoon of butter, and you'll add 1 tablespoon of flour. It's equal parts fat to flour. Doesn't matter if it's butter or oil. And whisk it up, and you'll cook it until the flour is no longer raw, which can take about 2 or 3 minutes. This is a medium high skillet. You don't want it to burn. And then slowly add a little bit of juice. It can be water. In this case, it's the delicious broth. And we'll whisk it slowly to prevent any lumps. And slowly add more liquid. Still at medium. You don't have to add any more salt or any other spices or flavors. Look at that. It's silky. It's lump-free. Quick gravy. All right. Now it's to the best part. Time to carve this delicious chicken. Moment of silence. Oh, look at that. So tender. Cut the breast. Now it's time to plate it up. Now the thigh is my absolute favorite piece of meat, and that one was calling my name. This chicken is so good, flavorful, tender, and juicy. And then we have our smoky collard greens, perfectly seasoned. Oh, look at the mashed potatoes, that pool of butter. I'm just gonna stir it up in there a little bit. And you see how fluffy they are, and they haven't been peeled. Yukon Gold potatoes, guys. If you haven't tried them, try them without peeling them. So good. Now we're going to top it off with our gravy, and you can make your gravy as thin or as thick as you want. And guys, I hope you try this. This meal was absolutely delicious.